Good morning and happy Friday. Another work week is behind us. And it's been quite a week, I tell you. And we've got a new pope. There's a new pope. Constance and I watched a bunch of the pomp and pageantry of the election, I guess, of the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church. Uh, I tell you, if you love ritual and ceremonial magic, uh, is even though the Catholics will tell you that their rituals and ceremonies aren't magic. They're magic, okay? It's ceremonial magic, plain and simple. Not plain and simple. Yeah, elegant and ostentatious. There's a movie, a very cute movie with Bill Murray, uh, called Saint Vincent, and oh, this marvelous Irish uh, writer and comedian. His name is escaping me right now. Uh, Plays a Catholic priest, elementary school teacher, and he's just absolutely steals this scene. And all of his students are all different religions. Okay, and there's a new little boy coming in. It's the daughter of is it Melissa McCarthy? Uh, Plays his mother, uh, and he's the new kid. So the priest asking in this fabulous Irish accent to come to the head of the class and lead the class in morning prayer. And so the kid's on the spot, and he goes up and he's all nervous. And he leans down, or he has the priest lean down so he can whisper in his ear. And he says, I think I'm Jewish. And the priest says, Billy thinks he's Jewish. Well, very good. We're all religions in here. And one of the kids says, "So am I." And someone says, "I'm Buddhist, and I'm a Muslim, and I'm a Presbyterian. So I'm an atheist." He said, "See, there's all sorts of religions here, but that doesn't excuse you from leading us in morning prayer." And but when he's saying we're all different religions and in here, even he says there's Muslims and Catholics and Jews and and this is a Catholic school and I'm Catholic and the Catholics are the best because we have we have the most rules and the best clothes. And if you'd seen the Pope's installation, you'd say, yeah, they got the best rules and the most rules and the best clothes. But anyway, it's been quite a week. I'm going to share a little tidbit of something that you've probably never read before by Aleister Crowley. It is a lecture, really short lecture, that he gave in, I believe, 1932 at a literary luncheon. Okay, now in 1932, Crowley's reputation preceded him. Okay, and he had quite a reputation. Let's see. Let me make sure what year this was. Yes, 1932, August 17th, uh, at the literary luncheon, 23rd literary luncheon at Grosvenor House. And uh, quite a few, I think T.S. Eliot spoke there and things like that. So it was quite a, uh, but Crowley was kind of freaky, and had this terrible reputation and had gone through court trials and all sorts of other things. And he'd already been well established as the wickedest man on earth. But it's England. It's a literary society luncheon. And the lecture was on the philosophy of magic. And I will read it to you because it only takes about two minutes to read it, actually. But before I do, I'm going to read something that I wrote as the prologue to my book, Enochian Vision Magic. Okay, the practical guide to the magic of Dr. John D. and Edward Kelly. Okay, and I have to start off by saying, why do you do magic in the first place? Why magic? Okay, and it's one of the best questions that someone could ask, and one of the most difficult to come up with an honest answer. So uh, I'm going to preface this Crowley article with this. Magic is as mysterious as mathematics and as empirical as poetry, as uncertain as golf, and as dependent on the personal equation as love. Now, that's Aleister Crowley wrote that. I'm a magician. I practice the art of ceremonial magic. I adore and invoke the essence of highest deity and hold congress with divine angels. I also evoke and command spirits and demons. Ceremonial magic is the path I have chosen to give an expression to the spiritual yearnings I believe are inherent in every human being. It is my Tao. It is my way, my religion, my philosophy, and my psychology. But ceremonial magic isn't my life. I already have a life, thank you. But I use magic to help make my life magic. I have closets and chests full of bizarre and colorful robes and crowns and wands and daggers and chalices and swords and lances and thuribles and banners and veils and rings and incense and candles and oils and tablets and talismans and mirrors and crystals. I have books, strange books, some very old and rare. Books that would scare the daylights out of most of my neighbors. I use these magic tools. I study these books in order to perform the rites of ceremonial magic. These things are not my life, but I use them to make my life magic. On the surface, one might think it reasonable and fair to ask, why are you a magician, Lon? Why do you believe in this stuff? Why do you do these crazy things? It might surprise you to know I don't have a proper answer to those questions. It's impossible for me to adequately explain or justify why I celebrate my spiritual life through the vehicle of magic. For the same reason, it's impossible for an artist to properly explain why he or she has taken up the brush or the chisel or the violin or ballet slippers. If reasonableness were the sole criteria for the existence of art, there would be no music, no dance, no magic. Make no mistake about it. Magic is an art form, and every true magician is an artist. Just like the musician and the dancer, the magician must practice, create, and perform. Just like the painter or the sculptor, he or she must be armed with the proper tools, skill, knowledge, and most of all, inspiration. But what about people who never learn to play a musical instrument, never learn to dance or paint or sculpt, yet who find themselves spiritually touched by listening to music, watching ballet, visiting galleries? Are they not artists too? In a very important way, I believe they are. As quantum physicists tell us, both the observer and that which is observed are changed by the act of observation itself. By appreciating the artist's handiwork, we are fundamentally affecting the reality and life of that creation. More importantly, when we expose ourselves to the artist's creation, we enjoy the passive luxury of allowing our consciousness to be altered, elevated, and enriched in unique and personal ways the artist may never have imagined. The art of ceremonial magic, however, is a little different. There's no painted canvas to display, no audience to applaud. Regardless of how altruistic the magician's motives may be, magic is a spiritual performance art that must ultimately be executed and appreciated by the magician alone. He or she is at once the teacher, the student, the medium, the conductor, the performer, the venue, the audience, and the critic. The magician touches the broader audience of humanity only by effecting changes in the magician. And success can only be weighed only in the silent holy of holies of his or her own soul. So here and now, and for the duration of this book, I shall lay aside the question, why magic? My magical efforts seem to propel me closer to, if my magical efforts seem to propel me closer to self-realization, if my work brings me a measure of health or happiness or wisdom or a sense of fulfillment, good. But none of these things, nor indeed anything, can be the goal of my art. Instead of asking why magic, I suggest all who would fancy themselves magicians seek to answer the following questions I struggle with every day of my life. Am I really an artist? Am I drawn to this strange and irrational art form because of my mad passion to enrich my art and fulfill my creative life purpose? Or am I doing all this stuff to avoid fulfilling my desires? Am I running away from myself? When I don my magical robes and enter the temple, do I do so as the radiant artist magician armed and ready to storm the gates of heaven and hell to do battle for the triumph of my soul, poised to take the next step in my spiritual evolution? Or am I merely a foolish man in an exotic costume, a mystic poser in serious need of a life? Okay. Now, here's what Aleister Crowley had to say at the literary luncheon, at the genteel literary luncheon in 1932. And I'm sure the mostly ladies were titillated at the thought of being addressed by the wickedest man in the world. A lecture on the philosophy of magic. I'm sorry if I'm not as frivolous as might be required by the exigencies of the occasion, but magic is a very serious subject, and I have a very serious message to bring to you. It is very little understood what magic is. It is connected in the minds of some people with conjuring. In the minds of others, it is connected with charlatanism. And I want to tell you that magic has been, since the days of the earliest ages of humanity, the tradition of the wise men. I want to tell you what the essential doctrine of the magician is with regard to man's place in the universe, and that it is given in the book of the law that every man and every woman is a star. What is a star? Philosophers have always agreed about one thing, that it is that the universe, to be intelligible at all, must be considered as one and homogeneous. Therefore, you can understand the position of the mystic who says that each is a member of the body of God. And he quotes Corinthian as, maybe I got the quote here, something. Let's see here. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom ye have from God, and that you are not your own? That's one of the Corinthian things there he's quoting. You can understand what is written in the Bible. Your bodies are the temple of the Holy Ghost. It is upon these postulates that the general theory of magic is founded. I digress here for a second. You see what he's doing. Okay, now Crowley knew his Bible very well. I'm sure much better than any of his audience. Okay, but it's something that they can identify with, and to tell you the truth, looked upon with magical eyes, looked upon with magical philosophical eyes, there's absolutely nothing wrong with lots of stuff in the Bible. Okay, even the monster St. Paul drifted in and out of great profundities. There's no doubt that he may have been insane, but he was also a mystic, and at times demonstrated that. But I digress. It is upon these postulates that the general theory of magic is founded. Why should this be so? We're all agreed, no doubt, that everything that happens is, in some philosophical sense, a necessary happening. Let us consider the adventures of an atom of oxygen. Now don't switch off your brain here, because this gets good. Okay. That atom of oxygen is not different from any other atom of oxygen in itself. First, it is identical in the same sense as we are all identical. The question is, why alter that state? Why descend from the absolute to the material? And the answer is that we will suppose the atom of oxygen is self-conscious, and became aware of this possibility only by entering into combination with all other atoms. Nothing in making that combination can destroy the oxygen. The oxygen will remain oxygen and can be extracted as oxygen, but in the same process of combination, it has got experience. And the magical theory of the universe is that we all come to a particular star or planet we happen to be living on in order to get experience. We all go through stages of that experience. Some of those stages are pleasant and some rather unpleasant, but they all are necessary in order that we may obtain full comprehension of ourselves. This is the reconciliation in the magical theory between free will and destiny. It is true that the determinist as the determinist has told us, that our actions are all automatic, that we are no more capable of thinking original thoughts or performing original and willed actions than any other piece of machinery. This is the doctrine of the materialist. And we say, yes, very good, but who invented this machinery? And the answer is, we ourselves, each one of us. We're in the middle of a world crisis, 1932. We are in the middle of a world crisis. It is a very good world crisis. Better than any crisis we've ever had before. And there is no man alive with an intellect big enough to grasp the threads of the problems which confront the world today. There are two ways out of that. Either to consult a superior intelligence, which Magick shows you a way of doing that, or you can develop your own mind, for it has the faculty which is as superior to the intellect as the intellect is superior to the emotions. All magical operations require a very elaborate training of one kind or another. But I think the only way out is that we have got to put men in charge of this planet who are really more than men. We must get back to the times of the prophets, or we must make ourselves prophets. And we must look at world problems from a standpoint which is entirely alien to that existing at present. Now, there's editorial notes on things, and I think it's really cute because we think of this is even before he started. This is a good 10 years, I think, or almost 10 years before the project of the Thoth Tarot. Let's see. So the philosophy of magic, he did this at the occasion of his friend Foyle's, and what's her full name? Christina Foyle, member of the English book dealing family renowned for their literary luncheons and lectures. It's like a plot from Father Brown or something. One guest, Rose Macaulay, remarked about having them invite Crowley to this event. She says, "I don't mind what he does, as long as he doesn't turn himself into a goat." 500 people attended that lecture. And Crowley wrote in his diary that day, about the luncheon. He said, September 15th, 1932, made a good speech. Well, I think he made a good speech too. And uh, it's a shame that more people don't get these little glimpses of. It's almost Crowley's other literary uh, career. A couple days ago, I read about his sort of goofy observation of a baseball game in his during his stay in America. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow for Saturday morning cartoons, and I hope you have a good weekend. And uh, if you haven't already, would you please consider, seriously consider, looking into buying my newest book, The Tarot Architect. Now, if you're not interested in tarot, buy it anyway and give it to a friend who is. And if you are interested in tarot, get a box of them, okay? Put them at the door, at your front door on the inside, and as friends leave, give them a copy. They'll thank you for it. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.